If you or your firm's email inboxes are completely flooded and you want to offload some of this to AI that can not only organize and classify all your emails, but also take action, like process invoices and also answer general company questions, this video is a step-by-step live build on how to create an email AI agent. Now, typically I start these videos with a demo, but for this particular one, I want to do a live build and walk you through kind of my thought process as how I'm building these workflows. You can always skip forward to the end for a live demo using the timestamps below. So this can be done in Gmail, Outlook, and pretty much any other email software. But just to keep it as simple as possible, let's start with Gmail. So our trigger is going to be on message received, and you can do every minute, every hour. Let's just keep it at a minute for now. And we're going to turn simplify off, download attachments, and we can leave it like this for now. Now the next step is to add a text classifier, which is a LangChain instance that's going to categorize all the incoming data that comes in through your inbox. So for example, let's keep this one as the first category as promotion newsletters. We can add one for invoice, payments, and billing. And let's do one more for general company questions. So obviously you can have as many or as little categories as you want, but we're going to add short descriptions for each one. Emails that typically are from companies sending promotions or offering invoice, payments, billings. To invoices sent to my company, made payments, etc. Lastly, category for general questions. So you can see here that these descriptions are pretty sparse. I'm just doing it very generally, but as you continue to use this, let's say there are emails that are coming in that for some reason they don't get picked up in the promotion newsletter that are using a weird keyword. You can always add something like this, key phrases to look out for. Invoice, billing, etc., and go on and on and on. And the reason for this is you get to continually fine-tune this text classifier so that it's actually capturing everything that you want. Now let's actually add and connect this to our previous node. I'm going to add some test data. So this is the test data that I'm going to be using to make sure it's capturing our promotion and newsletter. It's just a random newsletter that I get. And so now going back to our text classifier, we want to give it a model. Let's just go with our friends at OpenAI. GPT-4o Mini is fine. And now it's giving this notification because I need to link this to the previous node. So if you go to schema, text to classify, let's go to HTML or text. Either one's fine. Let's grab this for now, and then we'll test that. And so what should happen is because we have this newsletter as our test data, it should come in and filter through this newsletter route. So yep, you can see here, these are the three categories that we have. And there's one item here in the promotion and newsletter. So far, very simple. Now what we want to do is create an action for what happens when it does actually go through this promotion newsletter route. So keeping it simple for this first example, let's just add a label to a message. So what we want to do is as a newsletter comes in or a promotional email comes in, we want to just tag it with a label saying that this is a newsletter. So the message ID, we're going to grab it from here. We can grab it from the text classifier or also the Gmail. Let's grab it from Gmail, add label. Message is fine. And then we're just going to add the folder within our Gmail that we want it to go to. And mine is newsletters. Obviously, you can do other things that you want, continue this workflow and add extra steps for what you want to do with a promotion and newsletter. Maybe you want to delete it. But we'll stop here for now for promotions. Next, let's go to invoice and payments. So we also want to add this to a folder within Gmail. So we're going to do the same thing. And let me actually bring in some test data first. So this is our test invoice from Stripe that we're going to be using to run through our workflow. So now that we are bringing this invoice in, we want to execute this previous node, and now it should be coming through this invoice filter. So same as the previous node, we want to grab this ID here and then also categorize it into a folder. Mine is just going to be called invoices. Now let's add an extra step to this invoice. So my second or third YouTube video, I have a workflow in N8N that actually processes invoices. So I want to feed this information into that workflow. So let's go back here. And what we're going to do is execute workflow. So we want to call another workflow. So if you also have this blueprint from my previous video, you can also follow along for this part. But we're basically clicking database and then the workflow. So just a quick refresher, this is what the workflow entailed. We were downloading PDFs and invoices from our Gmail. We were filtering them and feeding them through a OCR, which is basically reading the email, reading the invoice, and then parsing that data into basically digestible parts and uploading them into one database, which we chose was Google Sheets. Then we download the email again with the PDF and upload it into a backup folder in Google Drive. Now, in the past, we triggered this workflow, just watching emails as they came through. But now that we're calling from a different workflow, we need to actually change this trigger to when called by another workflow. So this is having some issues because it wants me to, let's just say accept all data for now. Now going back to our invoice agent, I just want to run this once just to make sure that the data that we want, like the message ID, is actually being passed into our other workflow. So looking here, it does look like these are the stuff that are being passed, the ID, thread ID. So yeah, it should be pretty simple from this point on. Within the other invoice manager, you would typically just grab this ID and then download the message, and then it'll go exactly how intended. Now the final step is when you get emails that are asking about the general company questions. Now for this, we actually want to add an agent. So we'll go to Advanced AI agent. Actually, before that, let's do the same thing where we moved this email to a Gmail filter. So add label to message. Oh, so I need test data first. So this is the test question that I'm going to be using. Hi team, I'm looking to do an individual tax return. Can you tell me the estimated price for the service? Also, what other services do you offer? Okay, so now that we're using that test email, let me execute previous nodes. So the classifier should recognize that this was indeed a company question. Now let's bring the message ID and add the filter, which we're going to call client questions. All right. Let's go back. Now we can go back to our AI agent step. I'm going to connect this here. First thing is we want to connect it to a chat model. It's fine. Memory we don't need. But what we are going to do is give it some necessary tools. And so the question is, how are we going to equip this AI with the basic knowledge of your company in order to answer these questions coming from leads and clients? And what we're going to do is connect to a Pinecone vector database. Before that, let me just get this part. Your job is to answer any questions regarding company policy. And let's execute this again so we can bring in the actual email. This is the email content. So we'll go here. Is it here? Doesn't matter too much, but it's Gmail 2. Let's just bring this in. Test the step. Okay. So right now it's giving it a very basic answer, like it depends on your financial situation. And now it's starting to make up this stuff, business tax planning and preparation, payroll processing. Now this is not what we wanted to do, right? We wanted to have specific knowledge on your firm. So we're going to give it that kind of data. So this is the vector database that we're going to be using. It's from Pinecone. And so when you log in or sign up, it's free to use. You just want to create a database or create an index in this database, in which I've already done it. But let me show you what it would look like. You just enter the database. I called it index. I called it N8N. The configuration, I used text embedding 3 large. Serverless is fine. We can use AWS, your region, and that's pretty much it. So once you get that up and running, it's going to look like this. And you can see here, I already have information on my company, right? So how did I add this information into this Pinecone database? Let's first start with this. This is a quick Google Doc that I created, right? Company policy. Just a basic frequently asked questions. You know, what is your pricing regarding your tax return? How many people on your team? What other services do you provide? Now, if you have a short list of questions that you want to add, you don't even really need to do a vector database. This would be more, important when you have tons of data regarding your company that you want the AI to be equipped to answer with, right? So in those cases, you would have, let's say, PDFs, multiple PDFs, Google Docs, whatever the case may be. But now what we have to do is actually embed this knowledge into this vector database. Now, the easiest way to do that, and staying within N8N, is just create an embedding workflow. So this is a manual trigger, right? So you go here, trigger manually, connect it to your Google Drive. Let's say you have all your PDFs in one folder that you want to embed. We're going to connect it to our Google Drive and download the file, right? This is our company policy, those 3 questions and answers. Now what we're going to do is actually open up a Pinecone vector store. So let me show you what this would look like if you created this. Pinecone vector store. Yep, the same one here. And we're going to click Insert Documents connected with your Pinecone API account. Actually, I didn't mention this part, so let me go back to Pinecone. So this is the Pinecone. When we go back to our API keys, you would essentially create an API key, and then when you go back to N8N and you go to Pinecone API account, you would just connect it here. Let's say, for example, I said create new credential. You just paste your API key here, and that's it. Very simple. So now going back to this, we're going to insert documents. This is the name of our index, and this is our Pinecone namespace. So it's important that you make sure you get this correctly and type it correctly. So next thing we want to do is just give it an embedding model. We're going to use the same text embedding 3 small. Now we'll go to document. So let me show you what this would look like as well. We're going to default data loader, right? And from here, you're going to do load all input data. We're going to do binary instead of JSON. This is fine. That should be good. And for text splitter, we're going to do recursive character text splitter. Now, the chunk size and stuff like that, you can play around with it if you have a lot of data. It doesn't really matter too much when we have 3 questions. This is definitely overkill, but I just want to show you how you would do this. And so when you test this workflow, what this is going to do, download that file that we wanted and embed it into our vector store. Perfect. Now the data is within our vector store. Now what we want to do is connect that vector store to our agent. So we're going to give it tools. We're going to go to answer. So let's go vector store question answer tool. And we can call this company database. So database regarding company policy, policy, pricing, etc. That's fine. Limit 4, that's okay. And now we're going to give it another model. Oops, that's the wrong one. It's fine. And then now we're going to connect it to our Pinecone vector store. So connect to the same account, retrieve documents, and we want our index, and then probably our namespace as well we would want. So make sure this is also spelled correctly with this, actually I think it was called company information. Final step is just give it another embedding model. That's fine. Okay, so now if you guys remember, when we first started, this AI agent was giving very basic answers and even making up stuff about your company. Now that we equipped it with a vector database and we're telling it to use and refer to this when answering about company questions, it shouldn't make up stuff and it should answer stuff that's actually true. So let's go into here and let's test this step. So same question, I'm looking to do an individual tax return. And now you can see this 395 was not there before because now it has information on our company. We also recommend booking a consultation call to get a more accurate number. Now these are also the other, in addition to individual tax returns, we also offer the following services: IRS resolution, business tax and planning, inheritance. If you have any further questions or need to schedule a consultation, feel free to reach out. So now this is the output that the AI is giving. Now to close the loop on this, what we want the agent to do is reply to that email that came in from the customer. So we'll go here, reply to a message. Reply, message ID is going to be this one here, Gmail 2, it's fine. HTML, and the message is going to be like this. So let's test this step. Now, if I go to my email, there should be a message from this AI agent in my inbox. Oh, and there it is, 0 minutes ago. Now, you could always play around with the AI and have it spit it out within certain guidelines that you would prefer to have it in email. Like, obviously, this formatting is not production ready. So hopefully that was helpful. This style is a little bit more unpolished than I'm used to. But like I said before, it does give more insight onto kind of how you would build it step by step. So let me know down in the comments below, this style is what you would prefer more, or the other more concise styles from my previous videos.